rise, please, for the pledge.
Mr. Baer, Mr. Greenstein, Mrs. Nadolny, and Mrs. Weisberg. Thank you.
Okay, we are welcoming Mr. Conley's some singers, choral singers from Salem Elementary School, and I know it'll be a terrific performance. So we'll give them just a minute to set up. Thank you.
How are you? We are members of Salem 4th grade chorus, and we're here to perform Fireflies. Please enjoy.
thank our students so much. We also thank their parents for bringing them to us tonight. Very uplifting. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Great job.
That was fantastic. Thank you. I'll just make a motion for the adoption of the agenda, April 19th, 2016. Do I have a second? Mrs. Johnson, all in favor? All in favor? 6-0, thank you. And now we will go to student and community comments. I just want to make sure everyone knows that we would like you to identify yourself for the record. Just give your name. And we do have a 3-minute limit, but our Assistant Superintendent, Mrs. Callahan, will give a 30-second warning so you know. We'd ask everyone to please respect that 3 minutes, and the first person that'd like to speak, please come up to the microphone.
Hello. Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kayla Harris, and I graduated from Schreiber High School in 2011. Afterwards, I attended Binghamton University, and I'm currently working as a production assistant at Nickelodeon. I remember Schreiber for many reasons. I remember its wide range of extracurricular activities and array of helpful teachers. I remember the times I ate lunch outside in the courtyard and the hours I spent writing essays and doing math homework. What I don't remember is an initiative like this one that tried to bridge the gap between outdated social views and today's LGBT community. Unfortunately, I was complacent. At the time, I may have been okay with the status quo, but now I realize I was wrong. To accept the way things are based on fear of change or tradition is wrong. And if we let another opportunity to better our community slip by, this will also be wrong. The color that our students wear on graduation does not matter. The way people feel, however, does matter. Our community prides itself on acceptance, education, and individualism. Schreiber's mission statement even says, Schreiber High School endeavors to encourage democratic values that celebrate diversity and respect for the rights of every individual. It is purely hypocritical to deny any part of the student body their right to acceptance by forcing them to choose a color to wear on graduation. This ultimately forces them to conform to a specific gender, a decision that someone struggling with their identity might not know upon graduation day. Let's not be another obstacle in this student's life, another battle he or she has to overcome. Instead, let's be a safe place, a haven for all students. Let's demonstrate our acceptance and understanding of every student's struggles by taking action. This is our chance to educate students and faculty alike. Today, we can set a new precedent for Schreiber High School and how we interact with the LGBT community. On behalf of my family and I, we strongly support this change. My brother, Adam Harris, was president of the GSA while at Schreiber and was embraced with open arms by the Board of Education during this time, when he too was struggling with his own identity issues. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Emily Bays, and I'm a community member. I was not able to be here at the last meeting, so I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the Board of Education for adopting a school budget that is within the tax cap. I also wanted to thank the administration for working so hard to make that number attainable. And lastly, I wanted to take the opportunity to acknowledge the valuable input that was given by the community and the parent organizations, providing the BOE this opportunity to stay within the tax cap. And I want to thank the BOE for taking their input into account. I appreciate it, and on May 17th, I will be voting yes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zareen Johnson. I'm a senior here at Schreiber. I want to talk about the graduation gowns. Why does Schreiber have girls in white and boys in blue graduation? Well, it's for the sake of tradition. And while traditions can be really important to us, sometimes it's worth breaking tradition to do the right thing. My initial thought about this issue was that I like the way it's always been. I like the mix of white and blue, and I think I'd look nice in a white gown. But then I thought about the students that may be among us who might not appreciate being forced to gender their outfits. First of all, some people may not have told anyone that their gender identity does not match the one assigned at birth, and beyond that, not everyone feels they fit into the girl or boy category. Now, if you were in that situation, you could either wear the gown assigned to you, which the one that would be wrong, and feel awkward and uncomfortable about it during your entire graduation, which is supposed to be a fun and happy day, or you could ask to switch, which could lead to questioning from friends and family that you're not ready for. And for anyone who's having this issue, which could be more people than any of us realize, it could be completely solved by having everyone wear the same color. Graduation is not supposed to be about gender identity. It's about the work that you've put in during high school being recognized, and it's about moving on to the next part of your life. The memory of graduation should not have to be filled with anxiety and discomfort. If you stick me in a blue gown instead of white, that's not going to ruin my graduation experience because I know my gender and everyone else knows it too. Some of us may prefer one color over another, but it won't make a real impression on our memory of graduation. But on the other hand, the system we have in place now has the ability to cause someone a lot of stress by forcing them to choose to associate with one gender over another. I know I share the opinion of many of my peers when I say that the comfort of even one person, whether it be this year or in years to come, is more important than the color I wear to graduation. The most important thing that everyone graduating from Schreiber can have a happy and comfortable experience. Thank you.
Are there any other community comments at this time? Okay.
Hello, my name is Eric von Ruschlau. Though it says female on my birth certificate, I present and identify as male. It would be humiliating to force me to walk and dress with the girls, just because, according to the law, I am still female. I have lots of friends in similar situations who couldn't make it here tonight, and they would also be humiliated by this and forced to dress with either the incorrect group, either because they identify as transgender like I do, or because they identify as both male and female, or neither. This isn't so much a question of how much we value the old tradition, as much as it is a question of whether or not we're willing to start a new one for all of those involved. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing us. My name is Ms. Krebs, and among me are several Krebs graduates. And I remember the teachable moment that occurred when this particular issue came up in our chemistry class. And I told them a true story. My daughter went to Our Lady of Hope in Middle Village, Queens, and it's a Catholic institution, and she was graduating kindergarten. And they put all the girls in pink and all the boys in blue. And as an educated professional in education, I went up to the principal's office immediately and said, never, ever should an academic achievement be differentiated among sex. And that was the end of it. And I told them that story. Isn't that true? And it wasn't really about gender identity, which I guess now it's connected to more than most issues, but it was really about homogeneous and everybody achieving a Schreiber High School diploma and not being differentiated whether they're in white or blue. And as a faculty member who has attended graduation, it did cross my mind. Why were the boys in blue and the girls in white? It didn't make any academic sense to me as an educator in the classroom. So I shared that teachable moment with them, and a year later, right, they hit the ground running on it, and I'm proud to say that they were my students. Thank you.
There are no other community comments at this time. We will move on. We will have an opportunity later in the meeting, again, if anyone else chooses to speak. I would just like to welcome everyone here tonight, and so proud of the children. The performance tonight was wonderful, and the performance later with speaking was wonderful. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. There's been a lot. I don't know if everyone's on Facebook. I have to admit I am not on Facebook, and maybe you can imagine why. And I was given a lot of the commentary and a lot of issues. A lot of people had a lot to say about the change in gowns because of tradition. And Port Washington is a town that really has a lot of traditions, things we should be proud of. People adhere to these traditions, they come back and live here, they raise their children here. But I think the most important tradition is that we look out for our kids. So I think we have to adhere to that, first and foremost. So I hope everyone will support this decision if this is in fact how the high school administration plans to proceed. Thank you. Dr. Mooney?
Thank you, Mrs. Sloan. I also want to thank everyone for being here tonight, and I do hope that we're all enjoying the beautiful weather and looking forward, of course, to the spring break. I also do want to extend my best wishes to all of you who are celebrating the holiday beginning on Friday night. I have a few brief remarks this evening as well. Just one, as been reported in Newsday, our student test refusal for the 3-8 math assessments was about 30%. This was really almost exactly the same as it was for the ELA. Just for some clarification, for grade 8, 95 of the students were waived from those assessments because of they will be taking the Algebra 1 Regents. We just didn't get those numbers to Newsday. Another issue that I just wanted to offer some clarification about is regarding the boys' locker room at Schreiber High School. There was a problem in the locker room with the steam pipe causing part of the ceiling to collapse. First and foremost, no student or staff was in the locker room at the time. No one's safety was ever in danger. The room was sealed off because there was concern that some of the tiles may continue to fall. With regard to a resolution on tonight's board agenda for emergency asbestos abatement, we have been talking about renovating the boys' locker room as part of the bond throughout that entire process. And there is a portion of it that we can do the abatement piece of it on an emergency basis and take those funds from the bond. However, we cannot do the full renovation at this time of the boys' locker room because it has to get state ed approval for the complete project. So again, students were safe at all times. It does happen when these types of occurrences are a problem, that there can be asbestos, but it was always going to be, the abatement was always going to be part of the demolition. Again, the air quality has been clean, students' belongings were never, also we had an environmental consultant remove the belongings, so all the belongings are safe as well. If anybody does have any further questions or concerns, they can either contact the high school administration regarding the locker room itself or our director of facilities, Mr. Restano. I also want to just take a moment. We love to hear from our students, and we really appreciate you really showing your courage tonight and just coming up and speaking with us regardless of what your thoughts and opinions are on whatever the topic may be. So I want to echo Mrs. Sloan's words and just thank you for doing that tonight. We really do appreciate it. I'm so happy to see a number of teachers here this evening. We do have a special certificate for our teachers. On May 3rd is considered National Teacher Day. We are doing it a little bit early simply because our next board meeting does fall on May 3rd, but May 3rd is our tenure meeting, and we didn't want one to be distracted or not acknowledged over the other. So it is really, truly an honor and a privilege to provide this certificate to our teacher association on behalf of all the teachers. Again, I thank the teachers who are here. It is unfortunate Ms. Vasilov was not feeling well tonight, but her vice president, Arthur Cook, is here to accept this certificate. So thank you. I'm just going to ask Ms. Fennick to give us a brief enrollment update, including the kindergarten enrollment.
Thank you, Dr. Mooney. As of April 13th, our student enrollment is 5,449. We are 99 more students now than we were at the same time last year. And our kindergarten enrollment as of today is 375. We are projected for 420. We are moving up. Last year at this time, our number was, our enrolled number was 340. So we are quite a bit higher than we were last year at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion for the approval of minutes for April 7th, 2016. Do I have a second? Mrs. Johnson, all in favor? 6-0, thank you. And now we will move to the discussion item.
Okay. Very happy to talk a little bit about the presentation tonight. You know, there are many ways to define enrichment, so we thought we'd take a look at perhaps some things that maybe some of our parents or some members of the community may not be aware of what's happening, particularly at Weber and Schreiber. So I am going to ask Mr. Pernick and Mr. Shields to come up and to, they have a very interesting presentation tonight for all of us on some really exciting, fun activities that occur at both Weber and Schreiber.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody. First, I also want to thank all the students from Schreiber who are here to speak. I always enjoy when students take the opportunity to avail themselves of the opportunity to participate in this process. I think it's valuable, and I hope everybody gets an opportunity to share their thinking. Our presentation tonight is enrichment at the secondary level. Mr. Shields and I are quite proud of what has been happening and what we've been working on, and want to share that with you tonight. We've entitled this Moving Knowledge to Practice. So enrichment is, I found a definition, making something more meaningful, substantial, or rewarding. And as students grow up through elementary school into the secondary level, the enrichment opportunities, electives, clubs, and special events, they begin to change. And students begin to play a different role in how those opportunities are created. Students apply what they've learned throughout their academic careers and to demonstrate a deeper and often more personal level of understanding. We want to share with you what that looks like in some ways.
So Ira and I have had several meetings this year to try and create a greater connection between our schools for the overall 6 through 12 experience. Our hope is that over time the community will refer to our adjoining campuses as the secondary campus. This year we have begun to meet with teachers of the same disciplines and community organizers and community organizations that are eager to support the district's educational vision. Tonight we wanted to share with you 3 examples of programs that enrich the learning experience at the secondary level. All 3 have grown from teachers excited to support students' interests and needs. We as administrators then find resources to bring those ideas to fruition. So the first one we've listed is the a cappella group. A high school teacher began by supporting a group of students that wanted to start an a cappella choir. They brought the Tufts University a cappella choir to Schreiber for a workshop, and students from Weber and Schreiber were able to see them perform. This created momentum and has led to a 2-year grant beginning next year through the Education Foundation, so we can have an a cappella choir at both schools, creating a continuum for enrichment and skill development. Robotics. The high school robotics club happens to be run by a Weber Tech teacher, Thomas Stepanek, and the tech department at Weber have been working with him to teach programming of Lego robots for a few years now. They will now be enriched through the purchase of 2 Now robots, which can speak in several languages and be programmed in more advanced ways. This initiative was recently supported through a $25,000 grant through the Education Foundation that the board accepted last meeting, and will hopefully create a bigger feeding program into the high school robotics and enrichment experience. You see a picture of them there on the bottom right-hand side. Some point soon you will get to meet them and interact with them. College Pioneers. This program has existed for several years at Weber. Students in grades 7 through 12 are mentored. Yes, they come back into Weber even if they've graduated, and they're mentored by teachers and community members so that they can be the first generation in their families to attend college. We are now working with guidance counselors in both schools to see how we can increase the number of students served and provide them with services that will make the transition beyond the high school experience even smoother. This initiative has been funded through a private organization for the next few years. As each of these programs grow, more students will have their K through 12 experience enriched.
I wanted to share with you some of how this process takes place, and just to echo what Chris has already said. It became clear to us in our beginning of the school year, we talked about how many years students spend on this campus as either students or Weber or Schreiber. They're here for 7 years. We wanted to make that experience as seamless and smooth as possible as they are on their journey for education together. Students at Schreiber in particular and teachers end up working together to generate opportunities through electives that create avenues for students to pursue and apply other learning. I've listed a few here for you as exemplars. Our virtual enterprise, which is in year 1 and has exploded as an opportunity for students to exercise lots of different prior knowledge in mathematics, in public speaking, in social sciences, to go and form. They actually competed today in New York City at a trade show. They form actual, virtual companies and then go compete against other schools. Automotive technology has a rich history here at Schreiber. We recently presented a curriculum committee regarding our technology program. Bake Shop, also a new program here through Family and Consumer Science. These become opportunities for students to go and pursue something, enrich themselves, and they get to work with our teachers who develop these courses and continue to develop them as the years go on, based largely on student interest and need. Similar to automotive technology, our robotics class has a rich history here, thanks in part to excellent teaching and to the Ed Foundation for their support. And we even think that potentially somewhere down the road at Weber there might be a robotics elective, so we decided to just dangle that as an idea for the future. So the idea is that students and their voices are important to be heard when it comes to their own enrichment, and this is how it works at the secondary level.
So this is a list of several clubs that provide enrichment at the secondary level, and some of them have already been mentioned tonight. The first club that I would like to highlight is the experience provided for our students who participate in the Science Olympiads. The two teams comprised of 30 students competed at a regional competition, placing 3rd and 7th recently. This qualified Weber to send one team upstate to compete against 37 schools from across the entire state, where they finished 5th overall and 1st from Long Island. The 4 teacher advisors and the students bring their passion to science exploration and share it with students from across the state. We also have a robotics club at Weber, which supports students in grades 5 through 7, and it is run by Jean Zay. This club started just this year, and they have already entered a competition and showcased what they are learning to larger audiences. The high school robotics team advisor, Tom Stepanek, has been supportive of that club and sees these students as members of his future team. This club is also funded through the Education Foundation.
Before we get to special events, you want to go back just one quick slide. The skills that students are bringing in order to compete effectively with debate or to work at the TV studio to write for Schreiber Times. These are skills that students acquire in their traditional academic classes throughout their entire experience, K through 12. And they bring those experiences and that expertise into these enrichment opportunities. Schreiber is filled, and actually the district is as well, with special events. I listed a few. Pi Day, a celebration on March 14th, run through the math department. You like how I remembered it was March 14th. Shakespeare Day, which is this Friday, come one, come all, run through the English department. Poetry Cafe, Women's Day, Foreign Language Week, Spirit Week, Unity Day, which is a district initiative. All these are opportunities for students to find their way into a place where they feel that they can best exert their energy and enrich their own education. And so that we work hard to provide this again, in collaboration with teachers and the district in order to make these events successful. And one of the things that makes us such a unique environment.
And so you know, Shakespeare Day is an experience that Weber students from our drama club are coming up to the high school to partake in. Unity Day, picture all students from around the entire district wearing orange, walking around the track like we did this past year, and we look forward to doing that again in October of this coming year. In closing, let me say that we are really excited by the opportunity to collaborate with each other and our colleagues to provide a wide range of opportunities for student enrichment on the secondary campus. The future is filled with more avenues for students to pursue their enrichment, and I will let Ira now share with you some examples.
Some of what we have to deal with is the changing nature of education in this country, and the different experiences students call for all the time, including finding new opportunities for them to learn in a style that is of greatest comfort for them. And so we have developed this year, again in collaboration with the Ed Foundation, the Digital Learning Center as a place where students can go and have an opportunity to work in a style that they are comfortable with multiple different types of seating. I might add, every department, every teacher has had a chance to work in that environment as well and have department meetings in there and explore their own opportunities to use the room. We continue to work here with Ryan Maloney and technology and Bring Your Own Device as we consider what it means for students to have computer access, and we continually expand the number of Chromebooks that are available for student use here, and again encouraging other students to bring their own devices and use those as well. We have teachers district-wide being trained and learning the Google platform and hear regularly about how those changes impact instruction. In fact, this very presentation was made, that's right, on Google Slides. A new experience for some of us. I have listed here social media presence. There's a lot of negativity sometimes around social media, but it is a reality that our students are comfortable in that space. And many of our teachers are too, and they are used as learning experiences for students as a means of connection, whether it's Pinterest or Twitter, Edmodo, Remind 101. There are opportunities that are limitless to keep students and teachers connected and keep students connected to each other in ways that we could never have imagined before. And I imagine it's only going to intensify. We also try to be more creative with companies like iTutor and Castle Learning that are online programs that allow students who are home on leave or on suspension. If we can't find a tutor, we are able to use a unique one-to-one platform via iTutor to help keep students on the path to an education. Similarly, Castle Learning is something that the math department has brought on board to help support student learning in a whole number of areas. We will continue to grow because education is continually evolving, and creating the opportunities for students for their own enrichment is something that is incumbent upon us to continue to pursue. I'm grateful for students who push us as educators. We need to make sure that they continue to do that. So I look forward to whatever the future brings. It's going to be interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. I have one more thing. Sorry, I forgot. I totally forgot, but I'll remember now. Some people ask what it looks like when all this is kind of put together. And so I wanted to give you an example. We have a TV studio here, thanks to a whole host of people. Just Ryan Maloney is sitting in the back. I want to make sure he's worked incredibly hard, and the Ed Foundation and the district, and Pete Koch, one of the teacher in charge, remarkably hard. One of the things they do is they create packages, news packages, of events that take place, and some of them capture students in their actual enrichment activities. And while some of this, these news packages, they get old fast. So I'm showing you a couple of minutes of one that spans the last couple of years. Thank you.
Hello, this is Falcon Pet coming to you live from Pride Park 2013, annual celebration of the Port Washington community. Let's go talk to some of the attendees. What is it that you love about Pride and Port?
Oh, look at you just walk around and see all your neighbors and friends.
The congeniality of the residents with each other. We're all for one and one for all. So we're having a great time.
My favorite part is that everyone in the town is here and you really see the spirit we all had and how we really like work together and have fun.
I think it's amazing that so many students are supporting breast cancer awareness here at Schreiber because it's a real issue in our society.
I think it's great because they're finally spreading awareness and collecting money for the cause.
We are the community chest of Port Washington, and what we do is raise and distribute money to about 25 local Port Washington charities.
I play J.B. Finch. He's this con artist and he's really naturally smart. So his goal is to worm his way up to the top of the company in the least amount of time as possible.
It's a great relationship. It's a real partnership. The Ed Foundation supports many programs and curriculum, and they really care about our students. Welcome to Schreiber Pep Rally 2013.
Thanks, man. Kind of the music that narrates my life. That's just an example of some of the different activities that students immerse themselves in. All of them I would characterize as enrichment. And as you watch that video, you can imagine the number of students who are actually behind it, working on it, behind the scenes, applying their own style of enrichment to their own learning. So that's an example. I do think that students, when they feel their education is being enriched, feel more connected to their school, feel more prepared academically, and I think the evidence stands for itself. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that today, the U.S. News and World Report ranks Schreiber as the 28th ranked high school in New York State and the 33rd in the country. I think enrichment plays a really large part in what we're able to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I love the secondary campus. Seeing the progress that's making that turn since it first used a few months ago, and really liking those catching on. It was so wonderful to see all this enrichment and see everything going on, and so appreciated. And one of the best parts of it, to me personally, is that either students come to you or teachers are coming to you and they have an idea, and both of you seem so willing to take it and run with it and somehow make it happen for the kids, and it's really wonderful to see. So thank you for showing it to us tonight. Does anyone have any questions? Chris?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I think it's important to actually highlight some of the enrichment that people don't count as like an honors class or something like that. So I do appreciate this. I'm curious, as far as like the science Olympiads and stuff like that, is there a cap at the amount of people that can be in the club?
Yes, there is, and that's established by the rules of the Science Olympiad sort of format. So yes, we go straight to that max with 2 clubs.
And how is recruitment into the clubs happen, and then how do you decide if you have over the amount of people, how do you decide who ends up in the clubs?
Those are hard decisions because we started out this year with one Science Olympiad club, and the enrollment was through the roof. So we worked really hard with the central office administration to bring about a second Science Olympiad club. And so we could field 2 teams and then hired 2 more advisors because you're supposed to have 2 advisors per team. The advisors came up with a criteria and reviewed that with teachers that knew those students well and did the best that they could to select 30 students out of those that applied.
And from what I understand, the Science Olympiads has done great work, so I applaud that. And is that true for any other clubs? Is there a cap in any of the other enrichment clubs that you have in both high school and middle school?
I don't know of many other caps because that, as I said, is determined by the leagues of the competition. I mean, I think of for our drama club, we're up to 140 students in the drama club right now. And that swings in all sorts of directions, but recently it seems to be swinging up. So I don't know of other caps that come to mind right away.
I think the issue is when we're competing in, sorry, I had rough dinner. When we're competing and the organizations that we compete with, they often set limits for us as to how many of our students can compete, but that isn't always reflected into the number of students who are part of the club. So like in debate, I forget what the number is, but I think it could be 3 teams of 2. 6 students are able to compete. There are more than that in the club. Anybody here from debate? No, not yet. Okay. That's those factors do play a part. We try to make it sure that we keep kids interested in coming back and staying connected as best as possible, but there are limitations set for us by outside organizations.
Was it debate that was just downtown debating, or was that another club that was just downtown?
Today was virtual enterprise. We're asking very difficult questions, Chris.
I can't remember what it was, so I apologize. So when if students come to you or faculty come to you, how do you then form that idea? So let's say somebody came to you and said, we want to do another robotics team, or whatever they come up with, a farming club, and then how do you then form that idea?
We really have to see if there's student interest. So several teachers will try and volunteer to see what kind of interest there is. And if there is, a large number of students that are interested, we'll then come to the extra assignments committee and say, there's an application for a new club, and then we have to explore ways to fund it if possible.
I think it's also appropriate to reveal that these are budget-dependent choices also. There is a limited number of units available. The challenge for Chris and I often is to figure out when and how units become available, and the district helps us by managing and asking us to provide details for each club, the number of students who are attending, so that helps us, but it is these are complicated choices for us to make, and it's unfortunate, and often this is the place where enrichment ideas get relegated to, is to budgetary decisions. So they're often challenging. We are grateful for teachers who choose to come forward and support students, much like Chris mentioned before with a cappella for this year. Grateful for when that happens. So we have to try to work together to figure out how we can move forward.
Right, and I just wanted to add to that, we're also very grateful for the generosity of organizations such as the Ed Foundation and Hearts, because they also help us support these activities as well, and they played a big part in helping us move things forward. So.
And then how does active recruiting happen for kids? I mean, I can think of some kids that would be great in this club, but nobody's coming saying, oh, let's come and try out this club. Like, is there a active recruitment to try to pull in people that really are too shy to take that first step?
Say that the two main forms of active recruitment are morning announcements that take place every day, and also signage around the building of, you know, new club coming, come join us at such and such a location.
We have a long-standing club fair where we try to introduce students to clubs that are available. I got to be honest, right? Students, they're the best advertisers of their own, of the clubs they're a part of. They routinely go out and encourage others to stay connected to clubs. And I think when we look at long-standing clubs with, you know, many students connected, they replenish themselves, and it is rather impressive. But we also work with parents who talk to us about club opportunities, and we try to encourage where possible. I think sometimes, particularly at the high school level, we like to imagine that a particular student is perfectly designed for a club, and you know, it's eventually up to that particular student to determine whether or not they feel that that's the place for them.
Thank you. This was a very interesting. I do want to say that, you know, from my experience, the clubs are all very opening and welcoming to people, and if a faculty member thinks a student might benefit from being in a club, they generally do suggest to them that they might want to try it. And of course, it's always up to the student as to whether they choose to go. I guess overall, with all of the enrichment things that we have, would you say that the students who use the enrichment pretty much reflect the wide diversity of our student body?
I would certainly say that, yes. Yeah.
Agreed.
Great. That's all I wanted to know. Thanks.
I just want to thank you for the presentation, and I really enjoyed seeing the video that was produced by the television station. And the thing about the video was that it was great, and you pointed out, it augmented what you said during your presentation. And we have so many clubs. I mean, I just was thinking off the top of my head of all the great clubs that I just know about from my kids talking about them over the years, or from seeing lists back when I was an HSA co-president. And in addition to these, I mean, you already had mentioned the debate club, but the literary magazine, the art club, the newspaper, the tree huggers, the Gay Straight Alliance, photography club, student council, key club. I mean, it goes on, and the opportunities are amazing and so rich and enrichment. So I'm just glad that you pointed this out in such a eloquent and visual way. And the more time you had, the more you could have shown us. And it's just a great thing. And I'm proud to be part of the district, and that gives the kids this kind of opportunity.
Thank you both, and also thank you for all the time that my kids have been here in the schools and moved through. I mean, we're coming to the end of the road, and it's really a moment to say thank you to all the teachers who had my kids, and as well as you guys who have run the buildings. On the robotics side, you made the one comment that perhaps we could have it as a elective at the middle school, and I'm just wondering also, here in the high school, do we have it as a full-time class and then a club, and what we might be able to do to enhance it? It just turns out that last week I was at a seminar on robotics and where it's going just on an industry basis, and there were some projections that there was one group that got up and said by 2025 every household will actually have a workable, almost iRobot type movie robot in their house by 2025. And when you think that that's only 9 years away, we have kids in the school district who will be here longer than that time. And so if you look at the elementary kids coming up, they will evolve into sort of that situation. And so just from a curricular standpoint, is there a way that we can push that, and how might we do that, and sort of brainstorm that through to enlarge the study overall of robotics just from the word go? There was an article published yesterday by Bloomberg about it's not going to be drones, it's going to be droids, and the competition for delivery will be actually, instead of in the air, on the ground by robotic droids, and that's already started in an urban environment where they're rolling along. And so I would encourage whatever we can do to enhance that, because the kids are going to see it firsthand very soon.
So couple of different thoughts. One is there at Schreiber we have in a couple of different places like robotics, a pretty unique design where we have class and club. So robotics is one, radio station WDOT is another, TV studio is another. You know, it's a model that's worked where we can provide students with the necessary components to start them off in their education, and then they become members and hopefully members of the club, and then they get to pursue kind of their own areas of interest. It's one of the reasons what you're talking about is why Chris and I are so excited of what is going to happen over the next couple of years as robotics becomes something that takes hold at Weber, and that the students then will begin to get students into Schreiber who have already been exposed to a life of robotics in their school, and so they'll come in with a different level of understanding and knowledge that will take our program here at Schreiber to heights that we haven't really been able to imagine yet. And it's all going to be very expensive.
That's okay. There's always money in the budget somewhere.
Yeah, well, I would add that one of the things that we're looking at, we've been having conversations between myself and the tech department, as you know, what's the role of coding in our tech curriculum, and how does that connect nicely with the now robots that we've just been granted, because they have to be programmed to do what they do, and we see, you know, coding having a place in some form, and we're trying to figure out what that looks like right now in the tech curriculum.
And when you talked about it, you said that the club was 5 through 7. How are we managing the elementary component? Are they coming up to Weber for those meetings?
Yes, they have to be dropped off by car by a parent or someone that they designate. Yeah. Yeah.
Just one question. You talked about the one campus, and I think that's such a great concept. And you talked about how you're bridging the gap between the different teachers in the two buildings. How much are the kids starting to see each other? You know, high school and middle school kids connecting a little bit, whether it's through mentoring or clubs that they're, like he said, the 5 to 7, you know, you have 5th graders sort of working with the middle school kids in this robotics club. Are we doing any of that across the middle school and high school?
But I would say WINS is a wonderful example of that. You know, it's 4 days after school, or we have high school students coming to work with middle school students on their academics. I think of the great visit we had coming here to this space and watching the Beelzebubs from Tufts University, and the excitement that was around that. And those were high school kids from Schreiber on the stage performing with Beelzebubs that created that excitement. I see it happening more and more, and I can't wait to continue to bring them into the same space together. I mean, the Shakespeare Day, we have our club coming up here, the drama club, is going to be performing here among the high school kids. And I think those are exciting opportunities for both the receivers and the givers.
Yeah, I do think part of our role right now is to be somewhat opportunistic about finding the chances, like Beelzebubs, like Shakespeare Day, taking advantage of those, and then hoping to work together to continue to build on it.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you again for your presentation.
Just another point, by the way. I went to a conference last week, and there was a school district just outside of Pittsburgh that converted into a huge STEAM school on $6,000 by cold calling a lot of companies and getting all kinds of donated equipment through pharmaceutical companies and different places. So it does take money, but it also takes some clever phone calls.
Go to committee reports, policy. Ms. Johnson, policy.
Policy. There's a policy and personnel committee meeting this Friday, which I believe is the 22nd. Yes, it's Friday the 22nd. The agenda will cover the facilities usage policy. This will be a follow-up discussion about how we are using, the community is using our facilities and the fees that are involved and different aspects of that. And we will also have an update on our refurbishing and upgrading our website, which is something we've been working on, and Ms. Ryan Maloney's been working on that, I should say, and we've been discussing it on several different occasions during this year. And the idea, of course, is to make the website more user-friendly, more transparency, and something that people will go to even more than they currently are, and get answers that they're looking for. So if you can make it at 8:30 on Friday morning, it's open to the community, and we'd love to see you there. Thank you. At the Daily Annex.
Budget, Beth?
Our next scheduled meeting is Wednesday, May 11th at 8:15 at the Daily Annex, and the topic of discussion will be moving forward on the bond work that we'll get an update on where we are with the State Education Department and what we see moving forward.
Thank you. Curriculum?
Curriculum, we're going to beat policy by one day. We're meeting this Thursday at 8:30 at the Daily Annex, and our topic will be the technology as it's being used instructionally, as opposed to the technology as we had a discussion we had last time. And again, everybody's welcome, and they're generally pretty interesting meetings, and there's a lot of chance to ask questions and really find out what's going on.
We'll now go to the action items, A1 through D5. I move items A1 through D5. Do I have a second? Ms. Johnson, all in favor? 6-0, thank you. I would just like to make special note and thank the following for their generous donations to the district: the J.D. Blumenfeld Memorial Scholarship Fund, the Schreiber HSA, and Ergotron Company. Thank you.
Excuse me? The BOCES board member vote has to be...
Forgot something.
Okay.
What item is it?
That's in, it's A6. The first half is the administrative budget, but the second half, B, is for board member elections. There are 4 names and only 3 can be voted for. So I think I need for you to do a voice vote of the individuals you would like to.
Separately? We can do the 3.
Well, there are 4 people, so I'm not sure.
Can we just move off the 3 that we're voting for?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there are 3 incumbents running, which would be Ron Ellerby, Fran Lagsner, and B.A. Schoen, and I would support their re-elections.
Does anyone have any objection to that? So, like, we can just move that as one, okay? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first name. Ronald Ellerby. Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that the Board of Education is going to cast the votes for the following 3 candidates: Ronald Ellerby, Fran Langsner, and Robert Schoen. Do I have a second? Larry Greenstein. All in favor? 6-0. Thank you. You're very welcome. Okay. Do we have any old business? New business? We now have another opportunity for the community to be heard. Again, we would ask that you identify yourself for the record and please adhere to the 3-minute limit.
Thank you. Good evening to the board. My name is Anthony Capozzi. I'm the father of a graduating senior. I'm here to present some comments on the opposing points that we've heard earlier from the rather eloquent speakers that have come before. However, there is another side of the coin, as there usually is. I'm here to voice the recognition of maintaining the tradition of keeping, the blue and the white graduating gowns, as has been the custom of Schreiber for a long, long time. I recognize that there was a survey recently taken amongst the seniors. They have, I believe, presented their findings to seem to favor maintaining the tradition of the blue and white as opposed to the all blue. I'm here to support that tradition. I think that Schreiber has had a long and rich tradition of having, a graduating ceremony of a certain nature, and that tradition is what keeps us connected to each other. It keeps the generations connected. It keeps us connected to the past, to the present to the future. And I would hate to see, the traditions start being eroded. Although I recognize, the eloquent, speakers that came before, the opposing points of view. To what extent do we continue to erode traditions when you have a minority of folks, for whatever reason, that want to have something different to suit the needs of a few? To the extent that you might take that out to another extreme, you could have a group of students that might present, hey, I'm sure the graduation ceremony recognizes, students of great achievement, students receiving awards, students with a particular GPA. And what if those, half a dozen or dozen students said, we feel uncomfortable because we're not going to be recognized. We didn't achieve anything in particular great. And we would feel uncomfortable in being, part of a ceremony where other folks are being recognized and we're not. So we would like you to not have any mention of any meritorious students.
30 seconds.
Because we feel uncomfortable with that. So, we have traditions, and if indeed the time has come to abandon our traditions, and in particular with regard to the cap and gown issue, and you want to recognize the individuality of students, then maybe you need to abandon having any kind of graduating gowns and let the students wear ordinary street clothes as they may, in their own individual preference, feel that they want to do. Thank you.
Good evening, Arthur Cook, Executive Vice President, Port Washington Teachers Association and Latin teacher at Weber. I know if Ms. Vasilev were here this evening, she would stand up and say something very eloquent and charming about this award. So in her stead, I'll just like to say thank you. We enjoy being recognized. It's nice to be recognized for what you do. And in recent years, our relationship with the board and the current administration has been very good. And we're making good progress on all that we're trying to do. So we appreciate being recognized. On behalf of the teachers who are here tonight, I'd like to thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Leslie P. I'm a parent of a graduating senior to address the cap and gown issue. I was raised here in Port Washington and have chosen to move back to raise my daughter here as well. Part of the reason why I came back here is because of the diverse community that Port Washington embraces. We embrace everybody. And my daughter, along with her peers, I know, have such a, this isn't about inclusive, being not inclusive or to segregate. This is really about, a tradition, but I think it's more importantly about having the ability to open up the floor for discussion, which I think that they feel very frustrated about that they haven't had the opportunity. Yes, they were given a ballot to fill out to find out what their views were, but their point of view really wasn't heard collectively. And I think that this late in the year, to address a very important issue, and I agree that maybe perhaps in the future that these concessions or different rules or different traditions might have to evolve as we do as a community, but I think that we have to have a discussion, and it hasn't been had. We are being reactive to some sort of situation that has been put upon us now in the middle of April when pictures were taken and graduation is really upon us, and you're asking these guys to absorb and digest a situation that they are becoming opposed to. So 80% of the student population has opposed to it. I think that there's probably a better way to go about it. If we want to keep the blue and white as a tradition as it was when I graduated here in 1981 and as my sister did in the 70s, then perhaps there's a better way to do it. Not make blue and white girl boy. There's other ways of doing it. We can do it indiscriminately.
so that it's not a gender, it's not a sex, it's just about having the colors mixed in. So some boys are wearing white, some boys are wearing blue. I don't know, there has to be a happy medium, there has to be a compromise, and I think that the voices need to be heard. And I think that shutting them out, which is I think what they feel they have been, and just saying no, this is what the administration has said in the middle of April, well, this discussion really could have been had in October. Allows people to digest it, allows the
30
community
seconds.
to come here before the board, before the principal, before Mr. Miller, and have an open dialogue. And I just don't think that that has happened. And now we're forced here, myself, out of my home, without even knowing, with 10 minutes to go, to come here and raise this concern. And it's not fair for me as a parent to be pushed this upon me at this late in the year with pictures taken. I think that there needs to be a dialogue, and I'm asking you guys to support the school as a whole, to have
3
a
minutes.
productive dialogue. That's all.
Good evening. My name is Emma Cisneros. I'm a senior here at Schreiber, so I look forward to graduating in June. This has been a topic of discussion, especially in our senior class, that traditionally the color of your gown was related with what gender you would like to associate with. I'd like to disconnect the gender association with the color of our gowns. As a member of Schreiber, I know that our school colors are blue and white, and I like to have both colors represented at the graduation and not based on gender. I would like to suggest that caps and gown colors should be chosen or assigned in a different manner. In no way is the color of your gown definitive of who you are, and in that way, I am for everyone wearing the color of what they choose. In addition, I would like to add that a few weeks ago, our school leaders asked the senior class to participate in an information poll for caps and gowns. The results from the poll show that 80% of the students that participated chose the option to keep the tradition that boys wear blue and girls wear white, with the option that individuals to have the choice to wear another gown color. The other 20% was split between all white and all blue. The school should respect each of our decisions, and we are the ones wearing the gowns, so we're the ones that should have the most say. Overall, I think tradition is the best way to go, and I don't think we should connect the color of our gowns with our genders. In reality, the color of our gown is such a small issue compared to other things in the world, but I do believe that compensating for the unpopular opinion is hurting the majority. Thank you.
I'm Julia Pia. I'm a senior here at Schreiber High School, and I'm here speaking in regards to the graduation and the caps and gowns. The students were asked to pick between 4 choices for caps and gowns, and the outcome was 80% in favor of keeping tradition of blue and white, but letting each student pick what color they would like to wear. The other 20% was split in favor of changing to a blue cap and gown. All white and a white blue gown. In this poll, only 100 students were able to give their opinions, which is less than 1/3 of our grade. I understand that gender identity is an issue for some students, and everyone should be given the chance to have a great graduation day. There are a couple of ways we can both keep tradition and keep everyone comfortable. Each student should either be given the opportunity to decide which color they would like to wear and not single anyone out or distribute the colors at random so that 50% are white and 50% are blue, and there is no gender identification necessary. In addition, when taking our senior pictures, we took them in blue and white, depending on our genders, so the majority would like them to match our caps and gowns on graduation day. On behalf of most of the senior class, we would like to keep this tradition that has been going on for 50+ years. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Shannon Russo. I'm a senior here, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Schreiber's Gay Straight Alliance on the cap and gown colors. The GSA supports the use of one color of caps and gowns, whether it's white or blue. We don't have a preference. There has been talk about keeping a tradition, but there comes a time when perhaps this tradition is neutral for most people, but for some people very negative, and that is perhaps when a tradition should change. We do recognize that the majority of people wanted a white and blue split on by gender, but there is a significant portion, albeit small, that will be negatively impacted by this decision. For example, some transgender students can't fit into the male and female categories. This brings up the question of, well, then what color should they pick? Should they wear the color of the sex they were assigned at birth? What if they don't look like the sex they were assigned at birth? What if they look neither female or male? You may say let them pick a color, but for those students who don't identify as male or female, they can't really pick from a male and female option. Additionally, some transgender students are not ready to tell people that they're transgender. For example, take a person who is born a girl but identifies as a boy. Say this person has not told people they are a boy, and therefore everyone thinks they're a girl. Thus, the person would be forced to wear the girl color and sit in the girl section at graduation, making them incredibly uncomfortable on such an incredibly important day. We should aim to help all students and make graduation as unstressful as possible. We will wear these gowns for 2 hours on one day. If changing their color will make graduation less painful and more enjoyable for our peers and for our friends, albeit a small number, why don't we change the color? We also support a unified color at graduation because we should not be arbitrarily segregated by gender. Separating us by color and seating arrangement is an outdated practice, albeit a tradition. We are graduating as one class and as equals. No student should be forced to wear a color just because of their gender identity. Again, the GSA supports the use of one color at the graduation. We want all students to feel included, and we want to be unified as a class. Please remember that this sets a precedent for Schreiber, and it won't just affect transgender students, and it won't just affect students in our year, but this is going to affect thousands of students for years to come. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm sorry. My name is Valentina Zangri, and I'm a senior here at Schreiber High School. This June, I will be graduating and be the third generation of my family, and I look forward to the tradition of a sea of students wearing both blue and white graduation gowns to represent our school colors, just like my family has in the past. I understand the request to eliminate the gender discrimination factor attached to the gowns that have been worn in the past, but I believe we can do this with still keeping our traditions. I propose that all students have a choice, no matter what gender, lesbian, gay, or trans. I allow there to be a choice between white and blue gowns at our ceremony. I propose to detach entirely the gender issue that is connected to the color of our gowns. The class of 2016 was recently asked to participate in this matter, which involved a poll, not a vote. The results of that showed that 80% of those who participated favored in keeping the tradition of both colors of blue and white being represented at our graduation ceremony. Although a poll, and as I said before, not a vote, the results showed that to our administration that the graduating class majority stands on this issue, that we would love and would most likely keep both colors to be represented, but not based on gender. I find that we can change this issue by letting every student pick if they would like blue or white. I know that although a girl, and in the past girls have been identified to be wearing white at graduation, I would personally like to wear blue. Not based on who I identify myself, but because of other issues. As being a proud sister of a graduate who happened to be a lesbian, 4 years ago she graduated and was given the opportunity to wear blue. And she chose to. And I speak on behalf of her because I have permission for tonight. That she loved having the choice. That she did not have to wear white. I'm not asking or telling anyone to change their mind based on gender and color with their gowns, but to give the students who it's affecting directly a choice. Thank you.
Are there any other community comments at this time? Okay.
I do want to just again thank all of our students. We know it's a very emotional, passionate issue, and just we do appreciate hearing from all sides of the issue. So thank you.
Thank you, and we are adjourned.